The Norman-era church, with its proud 13th-century stone tower and oversized oak doors, was as familiar to her as her own hands. Her father had been the vicar here since before she was born. On the opposite slope of the valley, halfway up the hill from the church, sat the vicarage, a white, two-storey cottage nestled beside a larger, older stone building that had once been part of an abbey, now home to St. Catherine's Academy for girls of impeccable deportment. Behind her lay the neighbouring valley, where the white, cob and thatched cottages of Kettlescombe looked to the lush green landscape. She closed her eyes. These twin valleys by the sea cradled her home, the stalwart church that had withstood time and turmoil and Tudor suppression, the cottage where she had been born and reared, the school that gave her both purpose and income, the village where no stranger lived. All of it should bring her comfort. Should. Her hand covered her mouth, a moment of weakness. No, she would not cede ground. She would fight, as she had for 2 long years. She would find a way. Dropping her arms to her sides, she tightened her jaw and parted the pockets of her worn, striped overdress. The quiet jangle of sadly few coins only raised her chin higher. With a determined stride, she took the hill road down to the village. As she entered the central square, the blacksmith, Mr. Thompson, shouted a greeting. She forced herself to smile and gave him a friendly nod. Glancing around, she noted that the open green at the heart of the village was fair teeming with farmers, fishermen, and their wives. She had hoped to encounter fewer people on this particular day, but now was the thick of harvest time, and such busyness was to be expected. Lowering her eyes in the brim of her straw bonnet to avoid drawing attention, she headed for the miller's cart, spotting it in its usual location on the east side of the green.
"Ah, Miss Battersby,"
the tall, aged Mr. Miller said as she approached.
"Good day to you. Come to fetch a bit of flour?"
Indeed. She smiled politely up at the crinkle-faced man. £1, if you please. Mrs. Miller, his rounder, much younger wife, appeared from behind him to say,
"So little, Miss Battersby? Cannot make more'n a single loaf with that paltry amount. Why not purchase 10? 'Tis less costly per ounce and lasts a good bit longer."
Sarah's smile tightened. £1 is all I require for now, she said quietly. Mrs. Miller's eyes darted past Sarah's shoulder and widened. It was all the warning she had before an unwelcome hand pressed her lower back and a loathsome voice said, "Nonsense. Make it £10, Mr. Miller." The man she despised with all her being leaned close to murmur lovingly against her cheek, "I shall not have it said my betrothed has been deprived." Using her elbow and the brim of her bonnet, Sarah discreetly shoved against his lanky form, creating much-needed distance. His hand fell away. "I am not your betrothed, Mr. Foote. Kindly desist in claiming so." Dark hair, slick and shining with the lard pomatum he used, was pulled straight back from a shortened forehead. This was at odds with the relatively small eyes, long nose, and comically prominent chin. Mr. Foote was a most unhandsome man, but that did not bother her overmuch. In fact, if his soul were not far uglier than his face, she might be more amenable to his suit, particularly since he was one of precious few eligible males within miles of Kettlescombe, who were neither old enough to be her grandfather nor young enough to require parental consent for marriage. He was also a landowner, with 4 tenant farms and a sizable income, as he was fond of reminding both her and her mother. His dark eyes narrowed on her, small lips peeled back to reveal brown, overlapping teeth. His grin did little to enhance his attractiveness. There, my dear. Mr. and Mrs. Miller surely understand the passions of youth. I see little need to disguise our affections, despite your